Many self-published authors guess what their book cover should look like, and then are surprised when it's not selling. I did this. When I first published my book, They Stay, I had absolutely no idea what kind of cover would sell my book because it was in a sort of niche genre, and I wasn't familiar with what was selling in that genre, but my cover wasn't communicating to my readers exactly what to expect from my book. I just got a very cool opportunity to review data where an analysis was done of over 700 titles that had been on the New York Times bestseller list and that analyzed their covers to figure out what commonalities were being seen in these very high-selling book covers. I went through the data and pulled out all of the most actionable takeaways, and in this video, I'm gonna share with you what the data says is working in book covers in 2025, as well as what has worked historically and what is no longer working now, so that you can go into the book cover design process better informed and understand what kind of cover is actually gonna sell your book. We're gonna go through trends that used to be very popular but are no longer popular now. We're gonna go through colors that appear on most best-selling books in particular genres. I'm gonna cover typography, a little bit about specific types of social media marketing that are really prevalent nowadays, and then end by sharing my actionable tips that I personally am going to be using when I design my next book cover in about a month. But quickly, before we get into the video, I'm super excited to share that this video is sponsored by 99 Designs by Vista, which is a global design company that connects you to freelance designers that can design things like book covers. I rarely work with sponsors on the channel. This is the second time I've ever had a sponsored video on the channel, but I was very excited when they reached out to me because not only do I use 99 Designs to design my own book covers. This cover right here was designed by a designer that I found on 99 Designs. I've worked with her for many years and absolutely love working with her. She's extremely professional. She does an amazing job. She does unlimited revisions. She will literally tweak my book covers until I'm 100% happy with them, even if I ask her to change the text like 17 times. She has designed all of these covers that I'm putting on the screen right now for me, and I highly recommend her, and she's amazing. But also the data they sent me was full of actionable things that really helped me. They did a full data analysis on the covers of 701 New York Times #1 bestsellers from 2000 to 2024 and combined that with data from book cover designs created through contests on 99 Designs. So I wanted to make a video sharing the things that I'm taking away from this data and how I'm going to use it to inform the design of my next book cover. 99 Designs has also been kind enough to partner with me to do a giveaway for you. So if you are interested in winning a $500 credit to 99 Designs that you can use working with any designer of your choice, all you have to do is comment down below and include the word giveaway in your comment and you will be entered, and I will announce the winner in next week's video. So make sure you tune into next week's video to see whether or not you won, because I have no way to contact you directly from YouTube and I'm gonna have to ask you to email me. So first, why is cover design important? Never judge a book by its cover is obviously a cliche and obviously something that people do all the time. Everybody judges books by their covers. That's literally how we sell books, which is very frustrating because we as authors are not always the best at graphic design. I wish I had a great eye for design. I really, really do. It's one of my big wishes in life that I had a great eye for graphic design and I also could draw, because that would make running my business so much easier and more immersive. But alas, writing and designing things are not always things that go hand in hand. But that doesn't mean that it's not really important for us to have a cover that grabs readers' attention and only grabs the right reader's attention. Your cover is your opportunity to filter readers out that are not gonna like your book from the ones that are gonna like your book. It's your absolute first impression. You have readers self-select to be the kind of readers that are gonna enjoy your story. And so you have to make sure that your imaging captures what kind of story it is and conveys that to the average person. But that's also not enough. Covers are also deeply influenced by culture, world events, and social media. Readers know what they like to read, and if your cover does not align with the other covers of books similar to yours that your target reader also enjoys, they are not going to make the connection between your cover and this other book that they really enjoyed, and they're not going to know that that is necessarily a book for them. So it's important for your cover to align with current cover and genre trends. This data looked at color changes over time and found that certain colors became much more prevalent on book covers today versus book covers 20 years ago. And some genres even have certain color palettes. So connected to the idea of covers changing with world events, it was really interesting that between 2020 and 2022, during the pandemic, polymer colors began to be more prevalent in book covers. The use of the color white jumped from 52% to 79% by 2022. Also by 2022, the usage of blue had reached 62%. 99 Designs saw a huge surge in the use of the color green, and that rose by 12%. Because of the uncertainty happening in the world, these colors that portrayed more calm and cleanliness and peace were starting to be seen more in the media that we were consuming. Not me. I was weird and pretty much exclusively reading horror, but horror to me is also escapism. It gives my anxiety something to do and like something concrete to worry about. Like if I'm worried about whether or not the girl is going to escape the haunted house, I'm not worried about me and my life. But then we had the rise of book talk in 2023, and in 2023 to 2025, covers started to move away from this like calm minimalism thing and become really bright and bold. TikTok is like a giant fight for attention. Everybody is fighting for your attention on TikTok. And so people started favoring covers that were more eye-catching and that were, again, more bold. What was interesting is that bestsellers saw a huge surge in pink. Pink jumped up 260% between 2021 and 2023. And a bunch of other things happened with the rise of TikTok too, but we're getting to them. Right now, we're living in this age of social media that requires your cover to be bold. You want your cover to scream at the readers that are going to enjoy it. You don't want it to just like subtly encourage them to come check out your book. Like you need it to be attention grabbing and scroll stopping. One thing I've personally found very helpful for testing covers and seeing which one is actually scroll stopping, because I have a terrible eye for it, is PickFu. This is my pro tip as an author. I used PickFu a ton when I was designing that cover and like figuring out the shift between this cover to that cover, wherever I'm pointing right now, between those two covers. I had a vision for what I wanted, but I was not sure whether or not it would actually work. And so I went on pickfu.com and I tested it in front of an audience, and I created a bunch of really bad mock-ups and I put them all up on PickFu just to see which ones people would click on. And then I was able to use the data of like the ones that people would like instantly click on the most consistently to inform the design of that cover. To do this, I used a combination of generating AI art with also my terrible Photoshop skills and also random stock images I could find just to try to cobble together concepts of different ideas that I had, and that was really helpful because I could just literally take the winner and then I gave the winner to my cover designer, and my cover designer created something really cool. But the main color trends that we're seeing in 2025, according to this data, is if you write romance and fantasy, the dominant colors are pinks, purples, pastels, gold, and then usually some sort of celestial motif. Right now, that's what's signaling to readers that you're writing a romantasy. For literary fiction or memoir, things that are still working well are like clean typography and then simple whites, blues, greens. These kind of minimalistic and calm colors that were more prevalent during the pandemic are still working well for this genre. During the pandemic, thriller covers also tended to feature more of the color white, but now that has reversed and we're back to black and red being the dominant colors on thriller covers. The color black communicates the shadows and the darkness and the kind of scary vibes of the thriller, and the color red communicates that kind of bloodiness and urgency, and those are the things that people want when they're picking up a thriller. So one really interesting thing that this data picked up is that people are really moving away from photographic covers in romance. In 2012, photographic covers just dominated the New York Times bestseller list. But illustration not only surpassed photography, but now has completely gotten rid of photography by 2025. 100% of the romance covers on the New York Times bestseller list in 2025 are illustrated covers. The illustration can take a whole bunch of different forms, and there are a ton of original ways that you can put a spin on it. It doesn't all have to be cartoon characters, but people now expect illustration when they're picking up a romance book. And so if you are writing romance, it is imperative that you consider doing an illustrated cover in this day and age. But thrillers still use photography. You just have to make sure that the typography is really, really big and eye-catching, because usually in thrillers you have like little person running towards like a burning building with like big typography. Because social media has become such a driver of book sales, it is super important for your book cover to stop people scrolling when they're casually looking on social media. This might sound annoying, but it has really become one of the ultimate things that your book cover has to do, because that is now how most people discover books, is by scrolling through TikTok or looking on Facebook. At least for self-published authors who are unable to get into the big bookstores like Barnes & Noble. It has been really hard for me to get my books stocked at indie bookstores enough to move the needle for me, and so I have to rely on a lot more online marketing instead of in-person marketing. And so the way that people are discovering my books is by when they're scrolling on Facebook or scrolling on TikTok. So that means most people are seeing my book covers in like a little tiny box in the background or the corner of my video. Like this. That means that my book covers have to pop enough that they stand out in these little tiny boxes. According to the data, you want your typography to be big and bold, easily readable in the tiny box. Admittedly, this is something that this new cover is not doing very well. Like, I really like how the typography like looks like it's scratched into the book cover, but it's a little hard to read in a little tiny box. So for my new book cover, I'm gonna be doing that a little differently. You want your title to be readable at a 1-inch scale. Another thing that is very successful in book covers right now is having some kind of symbol, character, or motif that is instantly recognizable. If you look at the cover for The Fourth Wing, for example, that symbol is very unique. You have like the seal and the dragons, and the typography is very bold and very easy to read from far away. Or A Court of Thorns and Roses. The typography jumps out at you. The contrast is really high. It's really easy to read the yellow, and that strange wolf illustration is something that is memorable. It's a motif. The book The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, I absolutely love this book, and it has also gotten a lot of attention on TikTok. The cover is easy to read, high contrast, bright colors, and that box made up of puzzle pieces is a character or symbol that is very easy to recognize. The bigger the color blocks are, the better. If you have 2 to 3 very distinctive colors, that's good. Otherwise, your book cover is gonna get kind of cluttered. I'm realizing as I'm saying this that my old book covers do this a lot better than my new book covers do. However, you also have to bear in mind that you have to communicate the experience that someone is going to get from reading your book in the cover. You can't have it look like a very like happy, like cheery book covered in pink if it's like a slasher horror book that's very mature. You have to do all of these things. That's why this is so hard. So with all of this in mind, how am I gonna take this data and apply it to my next cover design? I'm gonna make sure that I have very big typography. I'm gonna choose bright colors with a lot of contrast, definitely incorporating black and red as much as I can. I'm gonna center the cover around a strong motif or a strong symbol that becomes associated with my book. I'm not gonna make it muddy. I'm gonna pick one clear object or image that sums up my story. All of this data actually supports a TikTok that I made a couple of weeks ago where I polled my readers and asked them whether they prefer illustrated covers or covers that are a little bit more abstract. I'll put it up on the screen here so you can see. All of them almost unanimously said that they didn't like illustrated covers and they wanted covers that left more up to the imagination. Once I come up with a bunch of different ideas, I'm gonna test them probably using PickFu or something similar, and I'm gonna poll my readers on TikTok and test all of these different concepts to see which one resonates with them the most. And it is still important to look at your Amazon categories and see what is selling in each of these genres. Yes, social media has become a huge driver of marketing. Yes, it's very important to optimize to TikTok. Yes, as like you want to make sure that your cover is popping in people's feeds. But it is still very important to see what is actually selling in your genre so you can compare your cover against the ones that are selling. You need to understand what your genre is. I know this is hard if you write niche books like I do, but it is so important. A tool I really like to figure out what is selling in my genre is Klytics. I've used Klytics for years and highly recommend them. They scrape data from Amazon and tell you exactly what categories are selling, and like they analyze all the different performance of the different categories. They are fantastic. Also, Publisher Rocket can give you some really, really great insights into comp titles that are selling really well in your genre, and I also use that to get this information. So I hope all of that was helpful. I'm gonna make another video breaking down the way that covers have changed and like how the trends have changed in the past 20 years, because I find that really interesting, and this data really dove deep into the historical changes and like how things shifted in different periods throughout history. But I wanted to make this video first because this one is really focused on the most actionable takeaways from the data and what we really have to be doing. But I'm gonna post that next one next week, so make sure that you stay tuned if you're interested in going a little bit deeper into the way that covers have changed. But that's all for this video. If you have a second, I would be super grateful if you could like this video and also subscribe to my channel. My name is Claire Fraze, and I'm an award-winning author who makes videos sharing actionable writing tips that helped me make my own writing better. I'm the author of the 5-book paranormal thriller They Stay series, along with a new series that I'm going to be publishing early next year about ghost hunters who hunt the ghosts of dead serial killers, and I'm very, very excited about that one. I love writing, I hate cover design, and so this is my attempt at trying to figure out and be very analytical about what it is my cover has to accomplish to take away all of the uncertainty and anxiety that I have around designing good covers. If you write in a genre that I didn't mention in this video, and if you're wondering if the data had any specific call-outs or tips for that particular genre, drop a comment down below and let me know what your genre is. I can go back into it and read through it and see if I can find anything for you on that. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week, everybody. And as always, happy writing.